Welcome to another edition of Ephlux Insights. My name is Babar Khan. I'm the entrepreneur in residence for this particular program. I'm joined today by Ryan Lunka, the digital strategy consultant at CITYTECH Inc., and he's based in Columbus, Ohio. Thank you for being on the program, Ryan. And could you just start us off by telling us what the value proposition of Adobe Experience Manager is, your area of expertise? One of your areas of expertise, and a little bit about your book, a little bit about the pitch towards brands in terms of how it benefits them in terms of time saving and money and cost saving, and obviously understanding their customer in the best possible way to leverage that the insight.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Like Baber said, I'm Ryan. I work with primarily Adobe Experience Manager, and then a lot with the peripheral technologies around it that are also part of the Adobe Marketing Cloud, like used to be called Site Catalyst. Now that's kind of lumped into a bigger program called Adobe Analytics, Adobe Target, which used to be called more commonly Test and Target. And that's all part of this sort of grand vision that Adobe has for digital marketing, specifically the technology part of it, where they have the Marketing Cloud, and it's going to be this sort of holistic technology platform to help you manage all the different aspects of marketing. And the vision is that they're all going to integrate into sort of one consistent look and feel, one consistent platform. I think ideally you'll be able to plug and play the different solutions as you want, but the big ask is that they want to have everybody have everything, so that you kind of have this whole marketing platform. So we really focus on taking that vision that Adobe has and applying it to our clients, and that's there's a technical challenge there, there's a strategic challenge there, so there's a lot of exciting things going on in that space, but that's sort of the general idea. Threw a lot of questions at me, so let's break that down a little bit. What else do you want to get out of that?
Okay, that's the general overview.
Sure.
Could you talk to us about things that we have sort of pre-discussed in terms of the concept of agile marketing, agile technologies and processes, how this particular platform helps you achieve this new era jargon where you need to be able to do, for example, I've seen videos on from agency personnel talking about the Obama campaign and how they would A/B test, in real time A/B test whether you should use the word contribute or use the word donate, or they would A/B test color schemes or anything of the sort where you can do everything on real time, and how people were using not just AEM but similar products. Similar platforms. Okay, we won't use the word product. Similar platforms that were being used. So that's like one case example where you can do A/B testing. Can you tell us more examples from your own work in terms of how you've applied it in a real-time perspective to get, as opposed to analog, where you do a campaign for 3 months and you see after the 3 months is done, maybe this worked, maybe it didn't. But in this case, you have real-time results. And we just spoke to the CEO of an agency in the UK called MBA, and he told us that they do 15-minute tests. After 15 minutes, they change the campaign up. Even Jeff Schumacher, the CEO of Boston Consulting Group Digital Ventures, spoke to us last week, and he said they take hardly 5 minutes to test and change the campaign up. So first of all, is that a realistic time frame, 5 minutes, 15 minutes? And secondly, could you explain other ways that you've used the technology to better gauge the sort of tactics you'd use for a digital media campaign?
Sure. So I think the big thing you're getting at there is that there's sort of this shift in marketing right now from these, the traditional Mad Men era where you have these long-running campaigns and you put all this effort into figuring out how you're going to brand your product or service, and then it's really difficult to assess along the way whether or not you're having success. It's kind of the classic example of why we're switching to agile in a lot of places in business. Start out with manufacturing, then you saw it with software development, and now marketing is really starting to embrace that sort of quick-moving, learn fast, fail fast mentality. A/B testing, and the general or the generic term content optimization is one really good example of how technology is enabling marketers to do that. Because now instead of having the argument, what color should the landing page be, what layout should it be, etc., you can put 3 or 4 different options out there, and you can statistically show which one actually leads to more success events or more conversions, which probably sales or lead generation or whatever your goal is for the particular website. I'm actually working with a client currently to build out a personalization slash optimization program. I lump those two together because personalization and optimization are very tied together, and obviously in Adobe Test and Target, they've lumped it into the same technology for testing and for targeting or personalizing content. And I think the big thing is you want to start small. You don't want to try to bite off this huge, complicated testing or personalization program where you're tweaking all these little things and this person sees this thing and this person sees another thing, because it's really difficult to measure the effectiveness of what you're doing when it's that scaled. You want to start small, get some success, learn, and build out from there. You mentioned people running tests, every 10, 15 minutes. It's absolutely possible. The challenge is you have to have the program in place, the people and the processes that understand it well enough to be able to react that quickly and to really know what they're doing. And you also have to have the traffic to support that. When you're doing statistical analysis, if your sample size isn't big enough, you're just not going to get a big enough sample to have a statistically relevant decision that quickly. But for some of the big, Fortune 50 brands, it's absolutely possible.
All right. Could you reference some examples of some case studies that you worked on, some clients you've worked on? Like you mentioned one right now, but is there anything that goes beyond Adobe that you're working on right now?
Anything beyond Adobe that I'm working on right now?
In terms of agile marketing, in terms of agile processes, the three-legged stool analogy,
Sure,
things
sure.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so there aren't really a lot of defined ways to do agile marketing. When you're doing software development, there's a lot of different ways you can do agile. A lot of people embrace the Scrum methodology. There's the Lean methodology. There's a lot of kind of prescribed ways you can do it, and that doesn't really happen yet in marketing. I think you see a lot of people trying to apply Scrum to marketing, and it's great because you're having some success and you're trying it. But ultimately, I don't think that's going to be the solution to how do you do agile marketing, because it's really a process that was built for software development. So what we see in almost all of our projects is we're implementing technologies that are promoting agile marketing. We're implementing it with agile software development processes, and you start to run into the marketing processes that are already there, and that's where there's a little bit of tension sometimes, where they're trying to figure out how to learn how to be quick like that. They don't necessarily always have the same kind of 2-week sprint mindset, or the, let's put stuff in a backlog and gradually knock it down and figure out how we're going to get from point A to point B and adjust along the way. And I think we see that to varying degrees on basically every project that we have.
All right. And why do you think, like, for example, it sounds like a dream product or platform. It sounds like what every marketer has been looking into. And if you look at the reports from, if you look at the general trends of the jargon or the what's called the Twitter sphere from last year, it was all about engagement, reach, and finding a way to the customer. Now it's all, the conversation has shifted towards measurement, action, and all. And you have something like Adobe, as you were saying, you were working with clients, there's success stories in terms of what people are getting out of it. There's the Caesars Palace, Palms, your success stories, many other success stories in terms of people are investing in something like this, and they're getting the actionable returns. They're getting a deeper insight of the customer, and yet many brands and many companies out there, they're reluctant to invest in this area for some reason or the other. And I just want to know, what is your insight into what stops people, or what is that one factor that makes them hesitate from investing into Adobe, or changing their internal systems so that it's for Adobe platforms?
Sure. Yeah, I think you actually see two extremes fairly often. There's, on one hand, there's the we're really reluctant to do anything, and it's a very slow kind of pushing back process. We don't want to change what we've been doing. Kind of the classic, people don't like to change, they're afraid to change. It's difficult and complicated to do it. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have organizations that just see the vision and then they buy everything, and then they're like, all right, let's go. And they quickly find that you can't just flip a switch and all this happens. So I think the key is really figuring out how you build a roadmap over a year, 2 or 3 years to kind of get to this holistic marketing technology vision that Adobe's laying out. And like I said, we have clients that are kind of in both of those scenarios, and it's just about working with them. And there's a lot of change management that needs to happen. There's a lot of education. There's a lot of culture change. Just takes time. But I mean, in terms of what Adobe has laid out, I'm cautious of anybody saying that any technology is going to save the world. But in terms of marketing technology, Adobe's platform is by far the best one out there in terms of executing the vision. And they've got some really, really intelligent people like David Nuschler working on building this platform. And every single year, every time we go to Summit, we see kind of their next iteration of what they have of this, and it gets better and better and better. I think if they continue on the trajectory they're going to have with Marketing Cloud, especially in 2 or 3 years when they really got this thing humming and they've really got all these technologies that they're putting together, integrated well, it's going to be an impressive platform. I mean, it already is, but it's going to far and exceed where we're at now.
Yeah. When I first heard about it and all it could do, I was wondering why every single business that was, as they tout themselves, a lot of businesses like to call themselves innovative or marketing driven or whatever jargon they use to describe themselves, and yet they haven't invested into the platform for one reason or the other. And oftentimes the rationale that would come out of brand managers brand and chief marketers that we've spoken to is usually the idea of training people from scratch to learn an entirely new platform that might go obsolete in a few years is something that they just cannot bear. They cannot make the case to their senior management for that. So could you tell us about the ease of use of Experience Manager and how it complements between the agency and the brand side? I mean, it could be possible that in often cases, at least in our part of the world, in Asia, the agency is the one that can reach the brand directly, as opposed to if Adobe were to approach a brand and say you should utilize this, or if they approached Pepsi in our region, Pepsi would say, go through my agency, go through JWT. And if JWT is reluctant to empower the brand in such a strong way as EM allows a brand manager or marketer to be empowered in terms of being able to control things on the fly, as opposed to handing over to an agency that charges you $100 a week, 100 hours worth of work per week, instead of, in this particular case, the work has been minimized to 50 hours or maybe 25 hours a week. Because everything is happening in real time, everything is happening in front of everyone. Sort of there's iteration of back and forth. So obviously that's a mindset. It's very hard to change that particular. We won't call it lazy, but we'll think of a more polite term for that. There's a mindset that cannot be changed. But how would you pitch that to agencies on this side of the world, that this is in your own benefit? You should really get on board and implement this amazing tech. That'll not only save you time, but it'll also save the customer time, and maybe your campaigns will be more ROI oriented and effective.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a role in this vision for the Marketing Cloud for the agency, the consultancy that does a lot of the strategy and technology, like what CITYTECH does, and the organization who buys the platform itself, all kind of contributing to the same end goal. What really helps with the Marketing Cloud is that it's cloud-based. Obviously, it's called Marketing Cloud for a reason. And the intent for that is that everybody can get into that data as necessary. It's up in the cloud. It's available. I mean, especially when they start pulling in the the interaction with the Creative Suite portion of Adobe's product stack, there's really interesting workflows and really impressive workflows for how your creative agency can build out your creative assets and the sort of soft, fluffy part of your brand, and bring that into the technology so that a company like us can be executing on the digital asset management platform and building out the web properties and things like that. And it's a very seamless workflow, where in the past that's been a very throw it over the wall kind of relationship. The agency's out doing their thing. They put all these artifacts together and send them up in a zip file or put them on a Dropbox, and somebody else picks them up, and then we have to figure out what that meant and figure out what the designs translate into web pages. And all these different things. It's becoming a lot more collaborative between all three of these parties and anybody involved, really, as opposed to kind of segregated. And that's why the platform itself is valuable. They've taken all these sort of best of breed technologies that you used to have to put together yourself, your analytics platform, your different programs for doing data analysis, your content management platform, and they're tying it all together with this layer they call the marketing cloud that kind of creates that holistic experience.
So how does something along the lines of I'm not a techie at all, so something
Mhm.
like Site Catalyst and Test and Target, how does that all play in? It's modules within AEM, if I'm not mistaken. So how does that benefit a campaign? For example, well, something that you've worked on. I mean, I don't want to pick up on a brand and try to figure out, but how does a brand, off the top of your head, benefit from these two modules?
From Site Cal's and Test and Target. So I'll throw that in with Experience Manager as well, because I think the three of those right there are kind of the core place you want to start with this technology. So Experience Manager manages your web experiences, your websites, effectively, and it's a best of breed content management system that gives you all the what you see is what you get editing. It has some really nice ways to manage your pages with workflows, ties into the digital asset management platform very nicely, so your creative content is right there where it needs to be, so you can put it on the website, etc. But it's great if you have a really nice content management system and you have a really pretty website and everything's happy. But until you can quantify the success against your marketing goals that website is achieving for you, it's kind of like, okay, cool, we have a website. It's almost, I don't say useless, but you're not getting what you need out of it. And that's where
Yeah.
you bring in Site Catalyst, now called Adobe Analytics, because it's lumped in with all these other data analysis technologies as well. And that platform, Adobe Analytics, is designed to give you the framework for measuring success. You define what variables about your site visitors and about their visiting or what they're doing on the site and what success events occur on the site. You define all that stuff custom, which is very different from Google Analytics, where it's just kind of a track page views and visits. And it keeps track of all that stuff for you, so you have tangible evidence that you are achieving what you want to achieve or not achieving what you want to achieve, so that you can adjust course accordingly. And then Test and Target, now called Adobe Target, takes that even a step further, because now you can start experimenting and using A/B testing and multivariate testing to learn about your customers actively and understand what their preferences are in terms of not just button color, but I mean site layout, copy. I mean you can really tailor the entire experience to exactly what your customers are looking for, and that's the optimization part. And then with the personalization targeting, you're able to not only tailor it to all your customers as a whole, but you can say, we know customers from Ohio react differently to customers from California, so here's how we can kind of target this stuff over here to them and target this stuff over here to them. And it's really just all about creating the most effective customer experience for each customer that comes to your website. And all those three technologies kind of tied together really enable you to do that.
Yeah.
Now that Adobe has acquired, used to be called Neolane, they've rebranded it Adobe Campaign. Now you're really going to start being able to pull in the email marketing and the offline marketing into this whole experience, so it's not just the web. And I'm looking, that's a new thing for Adobe. They're just now starting to build in the integration with Experience Manager and some of the other technologies. So that's something we're keeping a very close eye on and are really looking forward to getting to work with.
So we were talking about this with a fellow named Hugh Burkett. He's the CEO. He's the chief executive, yeah, of the Marketing Society in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this slight trend in his part of the world where the consumer brands are no longer, well, I wouldn't say they've outright stopped relying on retailers, but they are exploring the idea of selling directly to the consumers. Now, this doesn't obviously mean that if you want a Mars bar, Mars is going to send you a singular bar, nor will they send you the entire box. But there is this idea coming up where the brand is sending you or doing a content marketing using a content marketing strategy to reach out to the customer and say, this is how you can utilize my brand. And the idea is that the customer would buy enough of the product via other partners that are online as opposed to approach retailers to buy the product. So if a company that's a consumer-oriented business in the United States wants to move to e-commerce and they're a consumer goods brand, does Adobe Experience Manager allow this sort of thing along with this Google Analytics type analytics feature along with an e-commerce mix? And if so, could you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Experience Manager has a what they call an e-commerce framework available as a part of the platform, and what that really does is it's a kind of a common interface for you to be able to you as a solution integrator to be able to tie Experience Manager to an e-commerce platform that has product information management and feature as well. It's sort of a starting point so that you can it's abstracted away the concepts and you can integrate it with any platform you'd like. We've used that. We've also done fully custom integrations. It really just depends on the use case and the needs for that particular client. But at the end of the day, Experience Manager is a platform based on open source technologies, built on Java. It's all standards based. So to integrate with any other technology platform is absolutely possible. What Adobe's trying to do is minimize the amount of custom start from scratch integration you have to do by providing this whole platform. They did have kind of an out of the box integration to Hybris, which is an e-commerce platform that's available out there, a pretty impressive one in fact. And then again, there's plenty of use cases that we have with, we're doing one right now with a Fortune 10 retailer with IBM WebSphere, and a lot of the other kind of big time e-commerce platforms as well. And then again, because you're pulling that e-commerce into your web experience, that's all tied into the measurement platform using analytics, you're able to quantify that you are being successful selling online.
All right. So you mentioned use cases. Can you give me some examples of use cases in the you don't have to go into detail about the platform, but can you go into more detail about any customer that you have worked with, the challenges they were facing at the time? You don't have to name the brand if it's not in your if you're not allowed to. You don't have to name the brand. You can name the category, I hope, or the industry. So some challenge a customer is facing, they came to you, you gave them a solution and the outcome of the solution and the sort of factors within the solution that allowed them to gain success. So if there's anything that you have along the lines of Adobe's campaign, social, or ad optimizer, that would be something that I think we can add to the conversation.
Sure. So I'd probably leave out campaign because we don't. That's a pretty new thing for Adobe, and that's not something that we've really dug into yet and started implementing for clients. But it's coming very soon. And then Ad Optimizer and social, there's less a need for the kind of integration and the help for that. You kind of just use those. So I'll kind of leave those out, but I can talk through high level. We have a lot of similar. We have a lot of B2B clients actually, which is an interesting challenge for this sort of digital marketing platform, because it's really easy when you're talking B2C. You sell something online, it's really easy to understand the customer journey and how that ends up turning into revenue at the end of the day, right? You acquire customers, you get them interested in your product, you sell them the product, you make money, and then the whole thing starts again. B2B gets a little bit more complicated because the quote-unquote point of the website or the point of the web experience is a little bit less clear. Sometimes it's lead generation, sometimes it's brand awareness, and some of those things are harder to quantify success for. But we have a number of B2B manufacturing kind of clients where we've been able to, the biggest success right off the bat was put a platform up there where they're able to manage their web experience in a completely better way than they were before. We often integrated with Solar or Endeca Search to create really nice, optimized, faceted search features. Again, so you can direct clients or customers to the information they're looking for, and then again track that you're able to get there. Not sure if that's what you're looking for. I don't have a solid, detailed case study I can give you, but that's a general theme we've seen on a number of clients.
All right. This is again just an interest topic on my side. I ask this pretty much of everyone I interview. How does a business market themselves? For example, your sort of business, CityTech Inc. How do you guys market yourselves? Aside from having an expert on panel who is also a published author, um, how does a company like yours market itself and generate leads and uh, conversions is a whole other story, but how does it generate leads? How does it get the word out there that this is what we can do? And go through this entire sales funnel cycle. Like there's a six-step process in the B2C side. How does that affect you guys, and how do you go about marketing on your end? Keeping in mind that you are, um, I wouldn't say self-proclaimed, but I would consider you guys be experts in a certain field. So I want to know how you would apply those same principles that you give to your clients. How would you apply them to yourselves?
Yeah, I mean, we eat our own dog food, absolutely, and it's something that we're growing and learning with as a company as well. We face the same sort of B2B challenge that a lot of our clients face, where it's a lot more complicated to define what success for our digital marketing is. How do we quantify that somebody came to our website and read a few of our blog posts, and that really convinced them that we know what we're doing, and they were kind of considering us already, but now we've just been upped in their mind. It's really difficult to tie that to a tangible number.
Yeah.
So we really focus on content marketing. We have a technology blog that is a big part of our online marketing strategy. That's a huge traffic driver to our site. And we know from talking to clients that when we kind of start coming up early in the sales process, they check us out online and they're looking at our blog and understanding pretty quickly that we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We develop white papers as a little bit more of a formal medium for content marketing as well, and we do webinars that we can just kind of invite anybody who wants to come, and we'll just talk about some of the things we're doing, some best practices for using the technology, etc. I think another kind of interesting differentiating way that we're able to market ourselves without being marketing about it is that we contribute pretty heavily to the open source community. We have a
All
number of
right.
open source products or projects out there that kind of make the path of building out experience manager implementations easier. So we're contributing to the community by demonstrating our expertise and saying, here, we have a even better way than it's currently available to do these sorts of things.
All
And
right.
it's not to kind of market ourselves. It's just because we're part of the community and we want to demonstrate that we know what we're talking about, and we want to help everybody else who's out there.
Yeah.
But in turn, it builds our reputation as experts in the field as well.
Okay, because like you came to my attention because like I was given an agenda to learn more as part of our knowledge sharing platform, learn more about the players in Adobe in the Adobe Marketing Cloud and and the sub-product space, which is
Mm-hmm.
one of them is Adobe Experience Manager. So I just Googled and Amazon was at the top. Clicked on it and got to you. So that's pretty much like one way I would say. Do you find that that is also a great source of leads as opposed to just your personal branding? Because like you mentioned on a blog in Medium that someone approached you and you talked about the process. It was quite an interesting. I wouldn't know if you call anything you write on Medium a blog. Uh, I don't know if that's the right term for that, but like does that sort of thing help where there's an expert in the company and they're well known in that particular function or space or platform? Does that help you guys drive, if not brand awareness, then brand preference?
Yeah, I'm not going to say that it generates leads directly. Maybe it's possible that it has or it does. Again, that's sort of a hard thing to quantify unless you specifically ask a customer that we're talking with or a current client, did you read the book and that's why you called us? But I can tell you it definitely helps to reinforce our reputation of expertise.
Yeah.
I've literally had people say, "Oh, you wrote the book? Okay, I trust you now."
Oh.
It's so I guess to answer your
So I
question
think this guy
directly,
wrote the book on Adobe Marketing.
right. To answer your question directly, I think it helps with the brand preference. I think it helps reinforce the story that we're telling, so that there's a little bit of meat behind it, and it's not just a fluffy story.
Definitely. I mean, the idea. I mean, the idea that okay, first of all, I was like, okay, fine. He's written a book. Good job. Then go on your website. Oh, the book is prominently shown on the page as well. So the company's behind him as well. Okay, good job. Then your your book is referenced on various blogs about Adobe Experience Manager over and over again, where it's like it's basically for a more simplistic explanation or an explanation that anyone can understand. Click on this link to buy this book. Like they don't mention you
Hmm.
by name, they don't mention you by title or your company, because it's often the case that it's your competitors that are referenced that I've seen many links to like you're mentioning your company has a blog. I've seen many companies that uh, tout that they have Adobe capabilities. So they'll mention at the end of their blog post or their information or their uh, what's called at work type pages. At the
Hmm.
end of it, they'll say to learn more, go on this particular link and you can buy this book and it's a good price and it's reasonably a good read.
Yeah.
So that sort of marketing I've seen quite often on the B2B side, where if you educate enough people and you get the uncertainty and the fear out of them about what this new tech could be and what the repercussions or what the benefits it would have in your business. That I often find to be a reason for people to get, if not leads, then get brand trust. If you're well known in the particular area, like you're mentioning about the book, it does help quite a bit. So one of your counterparts, but not from an Adobe perspective, but he's on the agency side. His name is Stephen. I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm just going to say Maher. He's again MBA at an agency in the states called in the UK called Maher Birds Associates,
Hmm.
and they work on pretty big automobile and luxury oriented brands, and they have this concept called brand action technology. And the way they market that is they have all of their, like, you are not the owner of CityTech. So what they do is they apply a similar approach where they'll have the non-CEOs, the non-C-level executives talk about one specific topic, and within that topic, one specific industry within that topic. So they'll have someone talking about financial modeling in the retail sector, or they'll have someone talking about online owned media in the pharmaceutical sector. So they go so specific that someone reading that particular magazine will not only feel like this guy knows his function, but he knows his industry within that function. And
Hmm.
that's something that they find that has helped them quite a bit. So if there's anything else that you'd like to add to the viewers, because most of our audience is CTO oriented from what I would call a brand side, from a B2C side, and also to a certain extent a B2B side. And from
Hmm.
the B2B side, we have more academics than anything else. So I've got professors emailing me, asking me to cover certain topics.
Sure.
Um, is there anything that you'd like to sort of like broadcast to the audience, or would you like to like share your advice to the chief marketing officers of 2014 and what they should know about this tech and why they should invest into it, and any advice that you have to them and what their priorities should be for this year?
Sure. So I think just in general, if you're not aware of how marketing is shifting to a more agile approach, a more technology-driven approach, a more measurement-driven approach, it's time to start educating on what that means and what that's going to mean for your brand or your organization. It's going to get more and more complicated as we move forward here. There's actually a blog. It's one of my favorite blogs called Chief Marketing Technologist. It's chiefmartec.com. And Scott Brinker, the writer, has every couple of years he puts out an infographic that's just kind of a categorized slide of logos for all the marketing technologies out there, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger every time he does it. So there's all these really awesome tools out there, and there's all these really big opportunities to differentiate and to innovate with your marketing. But the challenge is going to be understanding how to pull that together into a cohesive strategy that you can actually execute on. Adobe is really helping in that regard because instead of just saying, here's 500 different technologies that you can pick and choose from, figure out how to put them together, they're creating a solution that's flexible enough to be tailored to your own brand, but kind of pre-constructed enough that you don't have to completely start from scratch, that allows you to start building these marketing technology platforms. It's going to be challenging, but there's going to be some really cool stuff happening here in the future. And I always encourage everybody to don't try to do everything yourself. Call on partners, call on agencies, try to build sort of teams of experts that can really help you execute on these things.
Yeah.
Because in the end, it's just gonna be a better outcome. It'll be
Yeah.
well worth the
So,
investment.
so like even in the case of CityTech, you guys, what do you exactly focus on, and then what do you rely on partners to do for you?
Sure. Well, we end up being, quote, the partner more often than not. But what we really focus on is delivering this marketing technology platform in such a way that it's technically excellent and strategically effective. So we start from square one, building the strategy, building the roadmap, helping with the content strategy, putting together the plan for how you're going to implement a web experience platform that's going to solve your problems. And then we kind of built around a technical core this really good competency in terms of implementing that technology according to best practice enterprise architecture, according to best practice for the specific Adobe technologies we work with. And then we go beyond just the implementation and stick around and help you really utilize your analytics and your optimization platforms and eventually your campaign management platform to make sure you're realizing the investment that you've put into this technology. So it's kind of we like to partner with our customers long term. We don't like to come in and do a 3-month implementation and then disappear. Ideally, it's a long-term relationship, and we're talking at all levels from strategic to software development to infrastructure level to really help you make sure your marketing program is executing well.
Yeah. Again, when I was Googling various companies in that space, I found it quite often on the page in the services section of CityTech's website that you went from A to Z. Most of the remainder pages that I saw, which I will not name, they would just talk about we strategize, we give the general overlay, we do everything, and then there's a point where we have a development or offshore partner come in and they help you with the integration and the development and anything else, iterations that need to be done in customization or anything else that needs to be placed in terms of goals, for example, with the
Sure.
goal of whatever platform or digital media asset that you have is there. So that's pretty unique that your company claims and has succeeded in going from A to Z in that particular process. But what I'd like to know, as just a closing statement, what are the challenges that you, as CityTech, as an employee, and as CityTech, the company, faces in this particular space of being, your experts, or I would call you guys. It's not you saying it; it's me saying it, so I guess it's okay. Experts in Adobe Experience Manager. What kind of challenges do you face when you're executing projects for your customers after the strategy phase has been complete?
Uh, I think we're kind of facing the same challenges that our customers end up facing, in that it's a very fast-moving environment. So sometimes you struggle to keep up with it, right? There's so many new things you need to learn and want to learn and continue to build out our expertise in. So we are constantly putting effort into doing that, and it's sort of an uphill battle that never ends because it keeps changing. We struggle a little bit sometimes we only hire experts in technology and the strategy and the different things that we work with. So we're not a huge company. We're not 5,000 people. So it's difficult sometimes to scale that, but it's a challenge that we really like addressing. I think we're getting better and better and better at it.
Yeah.
It's just an exciting, fast-moving field to be in, and I think everybody here is really motivated about it and really enjoys the challenge that's ahead of us.
Yeah, you're just shy of like 100 people. I mean, I don't know if there's a few people that aren't not registered on your LinkedIn company page, if that's a gauge of how many people are working in the company, or maybe there's some people in the company that are not on LinkedIn, but it appears to be right in the middle of Sapien Nitro and Deloitte Digital. So it's just that middle gap. Because I say that because some of the giants that are Adobe certified, as per even Adobe's list on their own website, they mention within their services as is listed on their site that they they will follow through to a certain extent and then stop. Like I mentioned, A to
Mm-hmm.
Z, they'll follow through till A to H, and then they'll hand it over to someone else. There's someone
Sure.
else for integration, but then there's someone else for strategy. But yours was like in line, everything. So I had to check
Mm-hmm.
with the book, and I had to check with the claims on the website. So that's definitely all there. Everything checks out as far as I have seen. But thank you very much for your time. Sorry, you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just going to kind of add to what you were talking about there. We actually are a little bit more than 100. I think we're around 120 because we
All
have an
right.
office in Bangalore in Australia that services JPAC, and then we also have our Chicago and Columbus offices as well
All
for
right.
North America. But I really think the way we sort of differentiate across all those different players in the field is that we're not like an agency because we don't focus completely on the strategy part and the creative part, but we're not like a typical solution integrator where we're only doing the technology part. We're kind of in between there, and then we're a more, I want to say, intimate relationship, a more family-oriented relationship. It's the kind of the benefit you get working with a small-ish company. I don't want to say we're a small
Yeah.
company. But it's just a different kind of culture, and I think that's
We'll,
kind
we'll
of what sets
say
us apart.
we'll say that you have a lean startup approach to things, but you're a large company. So there's that idea that you can be flexible and there's no red, I won't say red tape, but there's no concept of you know, if it's your project and you're the expert in it, you're going to handle it as opposed to there being people with different divisions and different functions within one function. You're handling, as far as I can understand, you are handling when you approach a client, you handle not just the strategy, but you also make sure it follows through. You just don't leave it off at one point and say, "All right, I've done my part. Now this guy that you've never met is going to take over, and he's going to be your liaison," which a lot of
Sure.
companies do. So I guess that's where you guys have your edge. But anyway, thanks for your time, Brian, and thank you for taking out the time to be on the platform this early in the morning. For you especially, and you've got a meeting in a bit. So what I intend to do, obviously, is down the road we'll touch base again, and we'll talk about any new developments because as I mean, in our part of the world, if someone has written a book on a platform like you have,
Hmm.
you automatically become the evangelist of the brand, and they should like inform you. Adobe should inform you ahead of time that something new is coming up. So, sort of, uh, sort of prepare yourself in terms of everything that you need to learn, anything new that you need to learn in advance. Like you're mentioning, everything keeps changing on a day-to-day basis or on
Yeah.
a week-to-week basis. Again, I don't work on this. The parent company works on this stuff, so I'll hear about it once in a while. But anyway, thank you for your time, and we hope to have you on next time on Eflux Insights. Take care.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.